In 2023, travel and tourism industry saw a talent demand of 44% spike. That's no less. 1.6 million jobs were created in the travel and tourism sector, and this is expected to rise to 56 million by 2033.
There is no certification to become a travel agent in India.
Be ready to be available 24/7. It's not a typical 9 to 5 job. It's the one where you are servicing your clients who are 12 to 14 hours away from you.
Try and get into mid-size companies where you multitask and you learn everything.
And I'm very, very excited to have Mernosh Kolambawala with us.
Thank you.
He has 14 years of experience as a travel consultant, working in a company, owning a company called as Beyond Borders.
That's right.
But the speciality of Beyond Borders is that they provide some uncommon experiences. Like, I was shocked when he told me that if you are with Beyond Borders, you can actually experience the launch of a spacecraft from the Kennedy Space Center.
That's true.
And my son keeps on asking me, can we go to Antarctica? So yes, they do have Antarctica based expeditions as well. So today I'm very excited to learn as to what kind of experiences and solutions does Beyond Borders have. And let's take some more inspirations from Mernosh as to how we can embark on a journey in the travel and tourism industry, how to be a successful travel consultant, and most importantly, who should be a travel consultant? What is it that you need in yourself to be a good travel consultant, a successful one? Hello Mernosh, welcome to Reflections.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for your time today. I'm so pleased that we are talking.
My pleasure.
I'm so pleased that after our initial meetings, we are actually sitting here and shooting something.
That's true.
That's wonderful.
Thank
that's
you so
wonderful.
much. Really appreciate it.
So let me ask you, what's driving this increased demand of travel and tourism based roles in India recently? Do you see a difference pre-COVID, post-COVID into this?
Correct. So, like you rightly said, post-COVID, travel has increased multifold, absolutely. Travel around the world is booming, travel is booming. And right now, India is being viewed by the rest of the world as one of the most potential countries for travel.
Okay.
So there were 3 top countries that used to travel quite a lot. That was China, Russia and India.
Oh, interesting.
And of late, and it's good news that India is topping the list actually right now, and there's so much of travel potential from India that big hospitality brands are opening up their hotels in India.
Right.
Tourism boards are coming into India, and they are holding familiarization trips for travel companies.
Wow.
They are having travel events and other, they bring their suppliers down for to meet the travel fraternity in India, so that and they take us on familiarization trips, so we can go there, we can experience their destination, and then we can come back and promote it to our client.
Wow.
So right now travel is booming, absolutely, and India is one of the biggest markets in the world with the biggest potential in travel. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what happens is, people feel that travel agent बनना है मुझे travel agency में क्या होगा, टिकट निकालनी है, fares को compare करना है, But when I talk to you, you told me about curating experiences, right? So can you please elaborate a little bit more about what a travel agent is, but what a travel consultancy is as such?
Sure. So travel has evolved over the years. In the good old days, yes, travel agents used to issue tickets and give those regular normal packages. But now people have evolved in travel. They are opting for experiences which are uncommon and unique.
Yeah.
And the quality of travel agents have become much, much better. So I'd like to rephrase the word travel agent and call ourselves travel curators, because that's what we actually do. We curate experiences in different destinations for our clients, because the Indian traveler is very evolved now. They know what they want, and they don't want to do the regular stuff, and they want to do these unique experiences.
Wow.
Which is what we do.
Oh wow, so, excellent. So this wildlife tourism, adventure tourism, rural tourism, international experiences, etc. is very, like for me, the most interesting fact is, when I told you about this 1.6 million jobs, 50% of them were for freshers, 0 to 3 years experienced, right? So what is it that you would tell these young girls and boys who are not yet experienced in this?
So, travel is going to be one of the biggest industries in the coming years, and there's a lot of opportunity in travel. I would really encourage young people to get into the travel space, but it is very, very important to make sure that the people who come into travel don't perceive it as, oh, I will join a travel agency and I will start getting to travel. It's not as easy as it looks.
Right.
There's a lot of hard work that we put behind everything that we do for our client. So if you're really interested in travel, honestly, unfortunately, there is no certification to become a travel agent in India.
So when freshers come to you,
Yeah.
what is it that you see in them? Somebody you see that yes, they will succeed. What are those traits? What are those personalities?
So, basically, we have a lot of, youngsters coming for interviews and say, I want to join a travel company. And through experience, we could figure out whether this person will be able to succeed or not. What we really look at is when a person comes in is not whether he's done a travel and tourism course, or not whether he's, worked, 6 months or a year or 2 years somewhere else. The most important thing that we look for in these youngsters is, first and foremost, most important is their communicative skills.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Communication is key to what we do, because very often, in fact most often, we are not facing the client directly. We're communicating on the phone, we're communicating over emails. So communication skills has to be very important. That's number one. Number two is they have to have a very strong urge to learn. There are a lot of people who work for about 2 years somewhere and say, oh, they come and demand like huge salaries and say, we've done this and we've done that and we need to work with you and all. And when you start interviewing them, you realize that unfortunately they don't know anything. I mean, a small example, like one of the boys came to me for a job and said, I've worked in the MICE department of a very big travel company.
Right.
And a MICE is basically meetings, incentives, conventions and events. So I started asking him, I said, okay, fine, if you've done these conferences and meetings for corporates, what is your role? So I said, do you negotiate with hotels? Do you in the destinations that you're doing the event? And he says, no, that's done by the hotel division. Then I say, okay, fine, do you look at you coordinate their flights? He says, no, that's done by the flight division.
Okay.
And I said, do you look after the ground transport? He says, no, that's another department, So I said, then what do you do? He says, when the whole group's done and everything is organized, we coordinate with the suppliers of Haldiram and stuff like that, and we make sure that those packets are boarded on and, So I had to sort of, unfortunately tell him, I said, look, you have zero knowledge about putting together an event, and he realized it as well. And I explained to him that these huge multinational companies are so departmentalized that if you're doing cars for, if you're handling cars for the next 2-3 years. You're not doing the other elements of putting an event together. And that is so important. So I keep telling them, I said, you're young right now. You earn and you spend it on yourself. You go to nightclubs, you buy clothes, you buy shoes, and you're not supporting your family. So don't worry about your pay packet right now. Worry about the knowledge that you get, because knowledge is extremely important and knowledge is power. So I said, try and get into mid-sized companies where you multitask and you learn everything. And once you do that and work with that company for 4-5 years, then you can go out and demand double or triple of what you're earning.
Wow.
Which they don't realize. And the people who are genuinely interested and want to grow in the travel space will not worry about their pay packets in the initial years. So right now, unfortunately, the youngsters who come in are just worried about, the first question is, what's the salary you're going to give? But what is it that you can give back to the company?
True.
They don't realize that.
True.
So I keep telling them, I said, join mid-sized companies where you multitask, where you learn, because that's extremely important. In future, you can have your own travel company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, this helps, what you said is, as much as communication is important, collaborating skills where you
correct.
are learning through different functions at the
Correct.
same time. When you are just starting off, gives you that exposure. Yeah, so it's a very interesting point that you
And
made.
if I may
Thank
say
you.
so myself, I'll
Yeah.
give you another example.
Yes, please.
So when we started 12 years ago, I started my company. I've been in the travel space for more than 14 years.
Yeah.
But when we started our company 12 years ago, we employed this little boy who came as to my company as an office boy. 12 years now, he handles my entire accounts. He's the #1 guy in accounts. He does 30% of what my auditor does to save money for the company. I've just given him the opportunity and I've encouraged him because he showed interest and I encouraged him. So I think it's so satisfying and gratifying for me as well, because I've reached a stage in the travel space where I think it's time for me to give back to people. It's to give back to people, to give back to where I get things from.
Correct.
And I think people like us must identify potential in everybody who comes to work with us and give them the opportunities. They will make mistakes along the way, but everybody does a mistake.
Wonderful thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's
wonderful
okay.
thought.
Support them. I could make a mistake. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you have the ability to learn, to pick up things, and the hunger of learning, you can do it. You can do it.
In an absence of a certified course where you cannot go and present yourself with a certificate to say, hey, I've learned this in this way. This industry, I feel, is the one where you observe.
Absolutely.
And learn through your journey.
Absolutely.
At least in the initial 5 years.
True, very true.
What I hear from you is don't look at how much remuneration I'm getting here. Learn. Because curating experiences is about feeling that experience yourself.
Very true. And what you've said, I think travel can be associated with, I'm not sure whether I'm using the right word, but it's more like the performing arts, it's culture, because travel is, when you curate an experience, it's the feeling that you give. So you have to be artistic, you have to have, have to be a little bit emotional, you have to be creative because you're creating experiences, and you have to make sure that you understand that you're not perfect, that every day is a new day and you keep learning. You keep evolving and you keep learning because things keep changing in countries. You know, what was there in Singapore 10 years ago is different from what it is now. So you keep learning, you keep creating these beautiful experiences.
I learned something myself because I always thought that curating an experience, maybe I curate technical experiences, this is different, but I still felt like it is more of a process. It's more process oriented, one after the other. Like to me, a layman, it's like you've done your travels, you've done your visa arrangements, you've done your bookings, you've kind of seen what are the most important places to visit. But what you told me is enlightened me as well, the creativity.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So creativity is, am I right in saying it's more about customization? Like understanding who your client is.
Totally.
Maybe emotionally connecting with them.
Totally.
Maybe understanding that what is it that they will love the most.
Totally, completely.
And then maybe making something for them which is may not be applicable to the other majority of the clients in the same location.
Absolutely. It's for the travel consultant to make sure that he puts things together to make sure that everyone has a good time.
Wow.
So it's very, very important to understand, to talk to a client. Another very important quality for a travel consultant, I must say and put on record, is the ability to listen. Now, I have realized that a lot of people listen to reply. They don't listen to understand. And that is very, very important. You have to listen and understand what the client is saying and not be in a hurry to reply, you know. And once you do, you talk to them, you find out what they want, you find out what they like. You don't have to push what you have, but you have to create what they want.
I'm also trying to kind of ponder on one more thought. How much is the client empathy important here? And at the same time, like I'm trying to also gain some more experiences out of your entire journey so far. You come across difficult clients also, because I've seen people who hesitate to go into this industry because it is labor intensive, tagged as labor intensive, and difficult to manage clients. Like many a times complain, अरे वो तो इतना दूर है, हम यहाँ से कैसे करेंगे? So I'm just trying to kind of debunk that how can one manage that kind of a relationship where, you know, your client is there looking for a positive experience, things did not go well, then what?
So it's a very important thing that you mentioned. You know, when you're putting together an itinerary or, you know, putting together experiences for a client, it is extremely important to be very particular about everything that you do, every little aspect in the itinerary, number one. Number two is you've got to be extremely honest to the client and tell them what they're going to expect. There are going to be no surprises for them.
Wow.
A simple example. If a client is going to a particular destination and they are foodies, you know, you want to send them to a particular restaurant in that city which has the most fabulous food, but the location and the way to the restaurant is horrible. The ambience is not so good, the location is not so good. So you tell them that, look, I recommend this place for the food because the food is outstanding. You know, the decor is not so good. It's a small little place. You may have to sit on a wooden bench, but the food is fabulous. So if you really want to go for the food, I recommend that you go there. Or you can tell them that I want to send you to this other restaurant, which is probably on the edge of a cliff. The views are stunning, absolutely. The drive to the restaurant is mind-blowing. The food is okay. It's fine. It's good. Don't expect very, very fancy food there. But the location is beautiful, so I'm sending you there for the location. Once you do that, they don't get disappointed. Otherwise, if you don't tell them the details, then they'll say, look, the food's good, but the seating is not proper, and you know, the road was not good and stuff like that. So you overcome all those issues when you're absolutely honest with them. So you tell them that the roads, the last half an hour of the road is going to be extremely bumpy, but we'll make sure we try and make it as easy as possible for you.
Right, it's being very transparent from the very beginning.
And very honest. And I think the more you speak with the client, the more you interact with the client, you build confidence with them, you know, and once you've created 1 or 2 trips with them, then the confidence that they have in you is, you'd never have a problem ever.
How important is in your role to establish partnerships? Like, for example, I was just reading through that in the travel and tourism industry, the gig models are getting very popular as well. There's a huge demand in gig models. When I say, you know, you're sending somebody for an experience and you want a very special wildlife expert out there, you know, who will tell them the nitty-gritties of when they are exploring the wildlife. Or for example, somebody's at a destination wedding and they want more of hairdressers and chefs, which are of a different kind altogether. So as travel consultants, apart from just having the relationship with your client, how much is the effort that you put in to build relationship with these other partners who will enhance the experience or needed to curate the whole experience?
So this is a very good question as well. It's extremely important to collaborate. It's extremely important to have partners in other destinations as well.
Correct.
Because they are the ones who are in that destination and they are the ones who are going to look after our guests as well. So while you have, while you're loyalists with hotel brands, it's extremely important to have relationships and partnerships with ground handlers, whether it's a car or a coach company, with local guides. And how do we do that? We do that when we are given the opportunity by tourism boards, when they bring down their ground handlers to India and they invite us and we're interacting with them, and that's how we build relations with them. So having local partners and local destinations is extremely important. In fact, I'd like to go a step further and say that I think, there's a lot of stress on environmental tourism and sustainable tourism. It is very important for us when we put together, experiences in other destinations to make sure that we take local guides, we respect local customs and traditions, and we make sure that the local community also earns from the travel package that we put together.
Wow.
You go into a place like Kigali and you do Rwanda, where you do gorilla trekking. Now you go up the mountains and there are a lot of all these local guides out there, who charge an absolute minimum of $10 to take you up and bring you down safely. And we had gone there and I I'd probably be ashamed if I gave the guy $10 is because it's so difficult to go up, and he really helps you up.
Yeah.
And he really helps, to make sure that you don't slip down and fall. And there are so many things that they do that I think he deserves $100 and not $10.
Oh, yeah, ask me. I mean, this was Rwanda. I've had this experience in India as well.
Yes.
Like the Kashmiris are my favorite people.
Yeah.
I tell it everywhere. I've traveled the world, but Kashmir has my heart. And in some places like Gulmarg and so forth, where there is a hike as well.
Correct.
You cannot do it by yourself.
You can't.
Unless they are picking up your child, picking up your bags and so forth. What do they charge? 100 rupees. So, I mean, what I also learned from you today is that, those who are aspiring travel consultants, if they have this edge of sustainable tourism, if they have the edge of growing the community around them, there are many clients who will appreciate that kind of an effort.
Lots of clients appreciate. We take them to various NGOs.
Wow. So it is that emotional connection.
Very emotional.
Wow. So this is like being a successful travel consultant need a connection at an emotional level.
Absolutely.
So understanding the client, where listening is more important as well. It goes beyond your other soft skills of communication, negotiation,
true.
paperwork and rest all things. Wow. I mean, I am so enlightened itself by talking to it. I'm sure a lot of other aspiring young girls and boys want to learn more coming on board.
It's a beautiful space to be in, and I really encourage a lot of people who are interested in travel to come and join. I mean, if people need guidance of, what the future holds for them, I'd be happy to sort of talk to them and help them as well. And it's like you said, as years go by, it's only going to grow.
Correct.
And it's a beautiful space to be in.
So there's a lot of inclination of these young aspirants to move on to AI and those kind of things in order to also curate experiences. How much of that inclination to AI and those kind of things will be, which you foresee could be useful in the travel industry?
Yes, a lot of mention of AI, but you see the, matured markets like US, it's like 50-50 there. So you don't really have to worry about, AI replacing a travel consultant's job. It can't, it will never be. Because I do believe, and I strongly believe that, while technology has never been easier in this digital age, it cannot replace a handcrafted program for a client.
Right. So still that human connect holds as much as significance.
Because as I said, every two clients are the same. And you have to make sure that you understand what they want, and you have to put together things according to what you like.
So maybe in the research front, the AI and those things will help on.
Correct. But you can use AI to your benefit, where you can research, where you can use it to sort of grow your business. But it will never take over a travel consultant's job. Never.
Interesting. Yeah. So don't need to worry about travel consultant's role with this new era of it's just going to help more.
It will. If you work with it instead of against it, it's going to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, do you see that people who come for internships and so forth, what is their North Star? What is it that they should dream of going 5 years, like 5 years, 7 years, 10 years timeline?
People who sort of come for the internships and start, as I said, it's extremely important for them to join mid-sized companies.
Correct.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Number two, don't worry about your pay package now. You will earn multifold later on. I had a girl who started working with me for, like, say, she joined me without any experience, without any knowledge, and we used to pay her about 20,000 bucks. In about 3 years, she started earning almost 80,000 rupees. Because she was excellent. So knowledge is what brought her to where she is today.
Right.
So for the getting back to your question, it's extremely important to sort of absorb as much as you can, learn as much as you can. Don't worry about that whether I'll be able to get to travel here or travel there. In the initial stages, you may not be able to. But you will get opportunities to meet the foreign suppliers who come into India. Like as I said, the tourism boards bring them here.
Yeah.
They have events and they invite the travel fraternity to interact with them. So you will have opportunities to do that. And as the years go by, you will grow. And when if there's a travel company which does incentive trips and you're putting together an incentive trip, you will get an opportunity to travel with their incentive trip. So your travel will start slowly and gradually.
Right.
It's not going to be day one. And then of course the sky is the limit. When you make a name for yourself and you have a market reputation, there are people inviting you to go to their country and experience their services so you can come back and you can sell.
Right.
So all that is there, but please don't think of it in the first 2 years or 3 years. It will come to you gradually.
Correct.
And once it comes, there's no looking back.
Right. So the trajectory could be that, in the first 3 years, they are with a mid-size company interning, which could even fetch them if you're a good learner and if you've gained enough knowledge, if you've kind of really made sure that your seniors have trust in you, that you are able to do something independently.
And I keep sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
but I keep saying mid-sized companies because in a mid-sized company you multitask.
Yes, agree.
In big companies, it's very departmentalized.
Correct.
So for 2 years, you may just be booking hotels with no clue of anything else.
Yeah.
Now, to be a good travel consultant, and when you're talking to that particular guest, that guest relies on you for the entire experience. So you have to have the knowledge whether the client needs a visa for a destination.
Yeah.
You can't put him onto another person and someone else talks to him about the visas, another third person talks to him about a flight, fourth person talks to him about something else. You can't do that. So a mid-sized company, you will learn all these things and you'll be able to put the whole experience to them. For them. And that is the reason a mid-sized company is more important over a bigger company.
So Marinosh, let's take a practical example. There's an intern who wants to come and intern with you, for example, or from your experience, your other colleagues in the mid-sized companies.
Yeah.
What should that intern do in order to stand out and grab that opportunity of internship with you?
So basically, most important is when someone comes to join us as an intern, when we have a conversation with him, we would probably try and see whether he has done he has to sort of do some research in the travel space and be able to tell us what he's done. Research can be in form of experiences, in destinations, and he has to come up with things which are not commonly known.
Okay.
Wow. So if he's a guy who's done a lot of who's habituated to doing a lot of research, then he really earns a lot of points. Is because travel is all about research. You keep researching all the time because things keep changing, experiences keep changing, new experiences keep evolving. So research is extremely important in our field. Number 2 is communication.
Right.
And number 3, how he is listening and his appropriate reply to what we are sort of asking him. And if he doesn't understand a particular thing, he'd always, we'd appreciate if the person says that I haven't understood what you've said and can you explain it to us again.
Right.
That is what we're looking at. So it doesn't matter if someone's asked you something which is not very clear to you. If the applicant says, look, I haven't understood, we appreciate that.
Wow, fair. That's hunger for knowledge, right? But language proficiency in communication, is that supremely important?
It is important. Well, I'd say it is important to an extent. It all depends upon, because every travel company deals with different types of clients.
Correct.
Now, if you're a luxury travel curator, I think language communication is important. It is important. It is because it builds a lot of trust with the client. And if you can't communicate, the client feels that he's probably not understood. So language communication is important if your travel company is a luxury travel company. But if it is into ticketing and putting together regular itineraries and all, then written communication is good enough because you don't really speak to a client as much as you do with a luxury travel company.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing that I'm very intrigued about is yes, we've given a good path, start interning with a mid-sized company, have a more creative bent, inclination and so forth.
True.
But you've also seen some interns who've just kind of being told by their friends and family, or they themselves think that, you know, I am an avid traveler and I have a penchant for traveling myself, and hence I should become a travel consultant. You think it's just as easy as that?
I don't think so. It's because, you know, I mean, a lot of all these youngsters are given advice by different people who are basically not from the travel space themselves.
Okay.
So a lot of all of these you know, youngsters come with different ideas about travel because the people who advise them are not from travel themselves. So, you know, someone says, oh, you know, we've been going abroad since you were a child and now you can become a travel agent. You can't.
Yeah.
Going abroad doesn't really necessarily qualify you to be a travel agent.
Yeah.
As I said, you know, your research skills, your passion to learn, your hunger to learn, you should understand that this is not a regular 9-to-5 job. You know,
That's
that
the
is
point.
very,
Yes,
very important, that
Yeah.
you have to work long hours. There's a lot of research going in before you put something together for a client. You cannot give half-baked information and you cannot give incomplete information or false information to the client.
So it's not the tag of being labor intensive is correct.
It's well to an extent, because you have a client in Europe who's probably calling you is because he wants to change a little bit, you know, his evening program and it's dinner time for you. You have to attend his call because he's already on site out there, and you've got to make sure that you arrange things for him. So it's a 24/7.
Cool.
It doesn't happen all the time,
Yeah.
but you need to make sure that you have to be available 24/7 to your clients.
Interesting.
Especially when they are on tour.
So I mean, some of your clients, many clients will be on tour in different time zones.
True.
So yes, I mean, being readiness, the readiness to
Absolutely.
be available all the
Yes.
time. They're driven by passion. I think those kind of
Absolutely.
jobs are mainly people who are driven by that passion so much.
So we've had clients who are in South America, and I got a call at 3 in the morning, and I picked up the call, and my client said, I just called to tell you that the transport was absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much. And I'm like,
Fair
you know,
enough. Why not appreciation
why not?
at 3 a.m.?
Yeah. So you've got to be able to pick up the phone at any time of the day or night. Yeah.
Wow. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so now talking about the business aspect of this role, right? We
Correct.
spoke about freshers who go into it, but then there are also mid-level people who've been there, done that, right?
Correct.
Now they know how to curate itineraries, they've understood the kind of length and breadth of this role. Now maybe their trajectory is to have their own travel consultancy to start with. But a very important part of that is also to be very good at sales, business development, marketing, etc.
Correct.
Like in my recent research as well, out of the 1.6 million jobs that we have in India today, nearly 30% are for the sales, marketing, business development kind of side in the travel and tourism industry. So what is your advice to such people who want to kind of, you know, now move on from working for someone to working for themselves, having their own consultancy, and kind of joining that piece of the puzzle on their sales, business development and marketing?
Correct. So basically, you know, once you've worked with someone and you know what you're doing and you know your job and you want to open up your own enterprise, I think that's a beautiful idea. You must go ahead. One thing very important to note is that you first build a client base, and once you have a client base, you start your own venture. Once you start your own venture, you have your clients sort of, you know, I mean, buying their travel requirements from you. Once you reach a particular point and you want to grow, then you have to start collaborating with different companies abroad. You have to start collaborating with credit card companies to make sure, you know, there are different ways to collaborate. We'll get into that maybe another time. You can, once again, it all depends upon how you've positioned yourself as a travel company in the market. If you're a luxury travel curator, you don't really need to give ads in newspapers and stuff like that. You connect with clubs for HNIs or YPOs, and they have news publications or magazines. That's where you sort of, you know, put in your details with you know, what you could do, and because those are the type of clients that you're targeting. So marketing is also extremely sensitive. You don't just put it in the newspaper, because that's not the client that you're really looking at.
Right.
So it all depends upon the profile of your company. You have to associate.
Right. So again, one of my learnings of what you said is that have a client base beforehand, so that you are not like, starting from scratch.
Correct.
Somebody, you've already been at the mid-level of your career. Have a client base, build that trust. Think a year before you want to start your own enterprise.
True.
So that you can have that pool of clients already built with you.
Absolutely.
And then you identify what are the right spots, like any other business.
True.
Where you are targeted marketing.
True.
Like you're not going all around the place.
True.
But yeah, I mean, that's a great idea of HNI clubs to go into for luxury, for your luxury tourism enterprise. Wonderful. So Mernosh has taught us so much today. What I've learned most importantly is not just your penchant for travel, but something around your communication skills, your hunger to learn, your knowledge, your research skills, your deep diving skills down to the bottom of what is going on, because you are not sending something, you are sending people to those locations. You are curating experiences for them which are going to emotionally connect with them. So your empathy for your customer and identifying what they would exactly cherish. But what I love the most about my conversation today is that you as a travel curator need to also think about the community where you're sending your clients. That experience builds a place in the heart of your clients and builds a unique USP for you as a travel curator or a travel consultant. Lots of more things to learn. Have a right mentor like Mernosh with you.
Thank you.
He will handhold, he will help you with understanding what it takes in the journey of being in a labor-intensive work like a travel curator or a travel consultant. Be ready to be available 24/7. It's not a typical 9 to 5 job. It's the one where you are servicing your clients who are 12 to 14 hours away from you. Somebody like Mernosh will take you through this nitty-gritties, mentor you through the road and handhold you to become a successful travel curator, an industry which is booming in India today and for the next 10 years. Thank you, Mernosh, for coming here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I so much appreciate
Totally my
it.
pleasure.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.